Hi everyone. For our webinar presentation today, we're going to tell you a little bit more about a student organization that we chose to observe and tell you a little bit about some of the leadership qualities that we saw they demonstrated and also give you some insight into how our group progressed over time when we were working on this project as well. So with that being said, we hope you enjoy our presentation. You may be wondering what STLF stands for. Well, STLF stands for Students Today, Leaders Forever. And to give a little of a background about the organization, it was founded by 4 students at the University of Minnesota in 2003. STLF is a nonprofit organization looking to make a difference in the world around them, where members strive to fulfill their organization's mission, which is to reveal leadership through service, relationships, and action. As an organization, they focus on their core values, which are leadership, passion, community, and belief. And those core values have served as their foundation since day one and has proved to be very successful. So now that you know a little bit more about an overview of STLF, we're going to dive a little bit more into the activities and organizational structure of the group. As an overview of STLF, they truly do want to empower a generation of servant leaders that will try and constantly improve their communities and the worlds around them. STLF reaches out to the university community by partnering with other student organizations like the Minnesota Student Organization in order to create events that involve more students around campus to make an impact. A great example of this would be the recent dance marathon, which I'm sure all of you heard on through student marketing activities across campus. During STLF's bi-weekly meetings, they are busy planning big events such as the Pay It Forward tour, where students travel to different cities to help make communities stronger by participating in various volunteering and humanitarian activities. The Pay It Forward tour exists at the collegiate, high school, and middle school level and take place on breaks that students have from school. The main challenge that this organization faces is bringing awareness to the community about them and their missions to serve. For often, they are only getting new participants for their Pay It Forward tour when friends tell friends about their experiences. So, how does STLF overcome this problem? Well, they have designated cores to manage activities following chapter core strategies. Of those cores, one is the business core, where this consists of 3 to 5 members responsible for the Pay It Forward tours activities, including business leaders, recruitment, and planning of tours. There's also the event core, which is made up of groups of students working to create on-campus events. The volunteer core, which organizes volunteer activities in the metro area. And lastly, and the most important, is the recruitment core. As we mentioned earlier, one of their biggest problems is awareness. So with the recruitment core, they go around campus telling people about the organization and post flyers around campus along with events where people can meet people from this organization and how they can get more involved. Here's a closer look at the organizational structure of STLF. As I mentioned earlier, it's comprised of various cores, and this is what truly makes this organization unique. In the center core, called the chapter core, there are 4 to 8 members who form it and are in charge of running the full organization. And as I mentioned earlier, you can see from the chapter core there are other branches forming other cores that are in charge of running different subsections of the organization. On the previous slide, I mentioned the business core, for example, or the recruitment core, or the events. And so it's very interesting how they delegate responsibilities in this group. They have various cores that are assigned different tasks, and they all communicate through a branch of networks and are able to effectively work together. This structure was something that we had never seen anything like in other organizations, so we thought it was truly unique that they had taken this approach to running theirs. As a group, we felt like this group is far more developed than other leadership groups because they truly walk the talk when it comes to their values influencing their behaviors. Their group vision is directly in line with their values and behaviors. In class, we talked about the Lee and King article where it talks about understanding your core values and the importance of it. It was interesting to see how this group was held together by a common belief in their core values, which we mentioned earlier. Their core values are what drove their behavior, actions, and major decisions. They truly guided them in teaching young people the benefits of leadership, service, passion, and collaborating with other individuals, helping mold citizens that mirror the model of the university, and to help them upstanding citizens both as students and students out of college as young professionals. There was a lot to learn from this organization, many of which were extremely relevant to what we've studied in this class. In Clifton's Strength class, we learned about discovering our strengths and gained a better understanding of how we can develop those strengths and use them to obtain maximum results. What made this group very unique and interesting was that they assigned work for each member based on their strengths and what the member would be best at doing. This ensured the highest level of productivity and reduced issues with work within the group. Their strengths were being developed rather than focusing on their weaknesses. This was something that was very interesting to see with this group. Another thing that we observed, and was a truly powerful experience that opened our eyes to a new style in which an organization was led. Unlike most organizations, where everything is organized by position or hierarchy, like a president, STLF instead utilized the chapter core as their main governing body. The chapter core was a relatively different leadership concept that we weren't necessarily used to seeing. It created more of a round table approach that engaged more students in leadership roles than a traditional structure would allow. And this resulted in the spreading of networks and truly fostered the development of each member of its organization. When we interviewed Alex, a member of STLF, what were the biggest struggles in his group, he said the core model prioritizes connection before content. We work hard to be friends and work together before just getting things done. This can lead to inefficiency and personal differences. We looked at this through the viewpoint of the 5 styles of conflict, an article we covered in class. We learned that the 5 styles of conflict are avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, collaboration, and each one of these has its own unique strengths and weaknesses. Our group decided that STLF uses a combination of being accommodative, compromising, and collaborative to solve issues. Since there's one person that is in charge or vote on topics, they all must come to a consensus about their decisions, and to do so, they illustrate the 3 above traits. They collaborate with each other by sharing their different views and thoughts, and make adjustments over time by being accommodative and compromising. But at the bottom line, they don't conform to a single opinion and must come to a consensus before making key decisions. So conflict management is a very important aspect to this group that should definitely be relevant to how we studied in class and brought up in this presentation. Aside from some of the articles that we covered in class that we noticed were being demonstrated in this organization, there are a few other takeaways that we just thought were worth mentioning. Leadership can affect hundreds of people in positive ways if you focus on strengths, flexibility, and collaboration. And we were able to see this through STLF's Pay It Forward Foundation. That was something interesting because of the reach of it. It got far beyond just the university and the campus. Another takeaway was that many leaders who use their strengths to work together is far more effective than one leader. This goes back to the organizational structure as a whole. Rather than being hierarchical by position, they chose to do it by strengths, with each core chapter having various responsibilities where they thought they could be the most effective in their work. And lastly, always respect your group and they will respect you. As we worked as a group, it was interesting to see our dynamic get better as time went on. We learned about the responsibilities and the goals of each member and how we fit into the bigger picture. It was much more beneficial to see this as we worked together, and it really did help us along the way. Looking back on our group as a whole, we definitely had many challenges and successes as a group. As this project went on, we wanted to make sure we followed the concepts from the CommLives article we covered in class about interacting in groups. We definitely noticed going through each of the 4 stages: informing, storming, norming, and performing, and in the following slides we will run you through some of the examples of what we did and the results. The forming stage. This stage of our group was critical to our ability to meet deadlines and create a quality project. We started in this stage. We wanted to set specific dates and times when we could meet. To do so, we chose to use the When to Meet website, where each member of our group would input their availability throughout the week, and this website would determine the best time for us to meet. This is a great way to do it because we're all busy college students, and it was difficult for us to find times to meet that would fit everyone's schedule. We also wanted to decide how we wanted to meet. Was it face-to-face, or was it a different method? And as a group, we decided we wanted to do it via Skype, and all of our assignments via Google Docs. This is truly evident of our group using technology. Technology was used heavily during our project, through the sharing of common documents to the using of the When to Meet website, Technology was critical to our group communication. Lastly, we wanted our group to be as structured as possible, and this was obvious through our planning, and this was very important in this stage of our organization in our development. On the following slide, you'll see an agenda that we laid out for our interview with one of the group members, Alex. So, we hope you enjoy that. As exciting as this is, and I'm sure you're really enjoying it, this is our agenda. This is our agenda that we set up when we interviewed Alex, a core member of STLF. This was created for Alex because we thought that it was very important to have a general overview of what we wanted to talk to him about, considering we weren't sure if this interview was going to go exactly as planned. It has the person we are meeting with, the date we are meeting with him, and the questions we wanted to ask him. This agenda made it clear exactly what was going to occur in our interview and kept all members up to speed and prepared for the interview. During the storming stage, we encountered two main technical problems. One being differences in each member's schedule, and the other completing assignments at the last minute. We talked about this before in our initial meeting, but it was when we started working on the first assignment that these problems typically started to arrive. We found out that it was more difficult than we thought because each person worked on the assignment at his or her own preferred time. It's hard to keep track of what had been done and what still needed to be done. The technical solution to this was using Google Drive, so that each person could work on it at their own time and you could track the progress that they made. By doing this, we highlighted the work that each person did in separate colors in Google Docs so we could easily distinguish the work that each member had done. The second technical problem was last-minute changes. For our second assignment, we did not get the final version of the assignment until just minutes before the due date, and we were in a rush to submit it. This problem could certainly negatively affect our future assignments. So, to resolve it, we sent out many more reminders to the group as emails to keep us up to date and to ensure that we got the assignments done well ahead of the deadline. The norming stage. This is truly where we started to understand the dynamics of our group and how we fit together as a whole. We started to determine each member's responsibilities in the group, which were being an active participant throughout the week, providing feedback on group ideas, decisions, and tasks, as well as each person being considerate of other people's time and getting things done in a timely manner. We also determined each member of our group's strengths. To do this, in a Google Doc, we wrote the question to write each of your strengths. Each member did that their own separate color so we could easily distinguish what their strengths were. By doing this, we were able to see how each member fit together, maybe what they would be best at working on, and we could always go back and reference it if we needed to in the future. It was really beneficial for us to all have our strengths in one place because these would serve to be crucial in the development of our group over time. In the performing stage, our group came together as a unit. By completing assignments and working together, we learned to work in a more cohesive manner. Later assignments were completed and submitted on time, and everyone felt like the work they had to do was less because of the distribution of the workload. This was largely due to the coordination and communication that we developed over time in the earlier stages of our group development. We started to learn how we could talk to one another to delegate opportunities and different tasks to members of the group. One member wasn't necessarily doing all the work like it may have been earlier on in the group. Each member was taking their own responsibility and completing different parts of certain projects, so the stress levels were lower among all members. It was great to see this in the group. In summary, this was a great project that had many interesting aspects to it. After reflecting on this project as a whole, it allowed each of us to see our work from a different angle, much like getting on the balcony. We had an interesting group dynamic where each member's strengths supported one another's, and this created an atmosphere where each member was productive and wanted to get work done. Our roles were never the same because it seemed with each new task, we had to change and adapt to our new assignment to get the best results. We also learned that using technology to communicate is one of the best decisions we could have possibly have made. It allows us to communicate at our easiest convenience and will certainly be used in methods like this in the future when we work on other assignments and projects. We came down to three main conclusions about the outcome of our project. This project allowed us to see leadership concepts we covered in this class in action through an on-campus student organization like STLF. It also allowed us to go through group development stages. That was very cool to see, considering we'd read about it, but now we actually had to do it in person. And most importantly, it allowed us to develop our leadership skills. Developing our leadership skills was the whole point of this project, and to also see how other groups were using these leadership skills. So, with that being said, we'd like to wrap up our presentation and give you time to ask any questions you. Thanks for listening to our presentation.